Okay, so when you're doing exact value stuff, you are dealing with these ratios, but when it's on the unit circle, you don't do anything with R, because R is 1, you just avoid it. Okay? And so if I avoid it on this one, I don't just take Y, I have to think about Y being flipped around. That's what I'm doing. Okay? Okay, so 210 degrees, you need to go there, and then you need to think about what does cosecant mean. So cosecant on my formula sheet is this one, so Y is on the bottom. So go to your unit circle, take the Y value, but write it upside down. So you're going to get, is that what you got? Y value, 210, Y value flipped around. I guess I should mention this now. There's one page that you're going to do on your test that doesn't have a calculator. I didn't need my calculator to do that, right? Okay, 23 pi over 6. Oh boy, we're going to land where? You're going to have to rotate a few times here. 6 over 6, 12 over 6, 3 pi's would be 18 over 6. 4's would be 24 over 6, right? So we're in this quadrant. We're not quite there. Okay, so this is what your eyes should be looking at. So what do we do? What does cos say to do? Take the x value. So my answer is the x value. Okay, so that's what my eyes were doing, looking at the x value. Okay, here we go. One that's a little bit more work, because you're going to have some algebra also with this. So go to 3 pi over 4, and I need you to figure out what the y value is at 3 pi over 4. 3 pi over 4, y value. Root 2 over 2. I got to square it though, because that's what it says here. There's a squared, so we have to square that value. Plus tangent at 9 pi over 4. Where are we going to be? Where did we land? 9 pi over 4. 4 over 4, 8 over 4. Right here? That's where I land. I'm going to do tan here. So tan tells me y over x. Y over x. What is that number? Quickly. 1. Okay, and you can, if you actually know that without, you don't have to write this, you can just remember, oh, that's 1. Secant, so secant is me doing what? Flipping x upside down. And then negative, where are you? Negative 5/6 of the way. Negative 5/6 of a half circle. Right here. X value, but upside down. So a negative, and we're going to flip it. Okay, so there's the 3 sections. Okay, I'm going to square this. So root 2 squared It's just 2, right? Squaring a square root. And then the bottom has a 2 squared, so the bottom is 4. Oh, I gave you some really ugly math here. Probably wouldn't put something like this on the test. Okay. Now, here's what you're going to do. In grade 11, you learned this strategy. I can't have a radical on the bottom. Can't do that. To add stuff together. So we did this in grade 11. We times everything on that fraction by root 3. Okay, this is legit because I'm timesing it by 1. Because root 3 over root 3 is just 1. If you times something by 1, that's fine. So that is 2 root 3. And then what happens to the bottom? What's a root 3 root 3? 3. Okay, what should we make everything out of on the bottom? What do you want that could be the same? On each bottom could be a 12. So I would be doing first fraction times 3. The second fraction I'd have to times by a 12. And this one I'd have to times by a 4. Six plus 12 is 18 root 18 minus 8 root 3 over 12. I guess I could also divide everything there by 2, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be reduced. Okay, solving trig equations. So this is a good portion of points on your test, so don't skip out on this. It'll miss you a lot of points. Okay, you should first say, what kind of algebra am I doing from grade 11? Should I isolate? Should I equal 0 and try to factor or formula? So this one, I'm going to isolate. Do you see why? I only have one thing. I can get it alone. So add 3. Divide by 7. Okay, we don't deal with cosecants in our calculator or that kind of stuff, so I'm going to change it. So which one does that change to? Sine flipped around. Would you recognize that on a unit circle? Nope. So if I don't, I have to activate all my steps. So what are my steps? First, where? Astika, where are you? Sine, positive. Tops. Then you're grabbing your calculator. You have to have it now. You're going to sine inverse 7 over 11 like that. But what kind of mode do I want it in? So we can always say, should we be in radians or degrees? How do I know? Because what is it asking in the question? Your answer has to be between 0 and 360 degrees. So then I'm in degree mode. So I'm getting an amount of 39.5 da 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 da. Okay, so if you are in this quadrant, it's just 0 plus that. 3 decimals, or I deduct you points. And then this one would be 180. Subtract it, right? I'm less than 180. Two answers. There you go. Number 12 here. So I have 2 variables equals 0. I'm probably going to try to factor if I can. So 5 tangent x and tangent x. That's the only way to do the first. Last, the only way to do that is 1 times 2. So you got to figure out where you're going to put the 1 and where you're going to put the 2. You got to think about your FOIL steps. You got to get something that would make a 3. So I think I'm going to put the 1 here and the 2 there. Does that make a 5 and a 2 would make a 3, right? Because if I put the 2 there, I'm activating a 10 and a 1, the other way around. So what do I need? I need a plus 5 tan minus 2 tan. Okay, check your foiling. Does it make that trinomial? First times first, yep. Do outsides and insides make the middle? Does last? Good? Okay, get me what I call your trig value would be next. Okay, I'm just going to check my question here. It tells me to answer somewhere between 0 and 2 pi. So I know I'm going to be in a radian now. Okay, would you recognize 2/5 from a unit circle? No. So you activate the process. Where is tan positive? Give me a tan inverse, and what are you doing before you do that though? You have to switch your mode. You gotta be in radians. Inversing, radian mode. .3805. So that one is just 0.381. And this one should be pi plus answer. Okay, I'm never rounding until the end, so I'm always doing pi plus answer. So that my 3 decimal places isn't thrown off. Okay, would you recognize this number from a unit circle? So we're done with that. Now we got to flip to this one. Do you recognize this from a unit circle? Yes. You should recognize tan, -1. Okay, so what am I looking for? First of all, where is tan negative? Which quadrants are we negative in? we're in those two quadrants somewhere. How did I produce a -1 with tan? What is tan all about? Division. What divides to be -1? You can find that on a unit circle. Right? Would those two coordinates divide to be -1? Yep, so there's an answer. And there's another answer. Because those would divide to be -1. Do you see that? If you happened to forget the unit circle and you went through the whole process and had a decimal, it'd still be correct if you did the same process as that. Okay, last one. So I have a 0, I have 2 variables. I'm going to try to factor so that has to be a 2 cos and a cos. And then those numbers at the end have to be a 1 times a 5. That's all I got. But where with what? That's where you got to concern yourself. To make a 9, where do you think you would put a 1 and a 5? Can you figure that out? Trying to get a 9 on the combo. My guess would be the 5 there, because I'm going to make a set that's 10 and 1. 10 and 1. What if factoring doesn't work out? What if you can't factor? Where do you go? The quadratic formula, right? Okay, so the trig value, I need that next. Would you recognize this from a unit circle? Yes. Where is x, that number? Where does the x value have that value? Are you looking at 120 degrees, 2 pi over 3, that spot? Okay, how do I answer though? Because this one says I need all real. What does that mean if you want all real answers? Infinite, right? What do we do when we write infinite? 2 pi over 3 plus 2 pi k, kei. To mean any revolution is also an answer as well. Does anybody know something about this without even touching your calculator? There's no solution. Why? It's because when we look at a unit circle and talk about x's and y's, x is our cos, y is our sine, the highest and lowest you can go, that'd be a 1 and a -1. So if you're out of that, for cos and sine, tangent doesn't have that. Okay, tangent doesn't fall into that rule. Okay, only x's and y's can't go outside of the 1s. But you do need to write me no solution, just to make sure.